guys, it's Gamer Ahmer here. So today I wanted to talk about the new Sega Genesis Mini that's going to be released. Now of course, with all of these other companies like Nintendo and Sony releasing these mini systems, it was just a matter of time for the Sega Genesis Mini to be released. So today I'm going to go ahead and talk about everything that you'll need to know about this Sega Mini, which games are included on it, when it releases, and how much you can get it for. So let's go ahead and check it out. Alright, so first thing that you'll need to know is that they're actually making two different versions of the Sega Genesis Mini. So we have the North American version of the Sega Genesis Mini along with the Mega Drive Mini, which is the European and Japanese variant of the Sega Genesis. So this console will release on September 19th, 2019, and it will retail for around $79.99. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that, as they will update various retailers that will actually sell this Sega Genesis Mini. And then there will be 40 legendary games, as they state. Now they've actually only announced 10 games so far, so we'll go ahead and take a look at those. Now this will actually come packaged with the Genesis Model 1 console. Of course it'll be a mini version of that, just as the NES Classic, Super Nintendo Classic, and the PlayStation Classic have done. There will also be 2 controllers included. Now it will be the original 3-button controllers. There will also be various cables that are included. So we'll have the HDMI cable, the power cable, a USB power adapter. So all of that will be included. So of course they announced that 40 legendary games will be included on this mini console. So they only have revealed 10 of these games. So stay tuned as I'll continuously update as they mention more games that will be on this classic. So of course they have Echo the Dolphin. Now that I remember playing is so much fun. You swim around as Echo the Dolphin and it's such a great adventure game. And then of course they announced Castlevania Bloodlines. Now that is the only Castlevania game on the Sega Genesis, and it's actually a bit more pricey, so that is definitely a great game to include on this mini console, especially if you don't own that game itself. And then of course they announced Space Harrier 2, which is really a fun game. You run around equipped with the laser and you have to go ahead and shoot. So it's definitely a pretty fun and challenging game. And then of course they announced Shining Force, which is the first in the series, and that is a great turn-based tactical role-playing game. And then of course Sonic the Hedgehog. Now that is the staple as you go for mascots for the Sega Genesis, so it just makes sense that they would go ahead and include Sonic the Hedgehog for this Sega Genesis Mini. And then they went ahead and announced Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. So that is a pretty fun puzzle style game, and I actually have this one in my collection. Of course they went ahead and announced Toe Jam and Earl. Now those are some wacky characters. I remember playing those games and having so much fun playing with those pretty crazy aliens. And then some more fun games. We have Comic Zone, which is a pretty sweet beat 'em up game that kind of has the style of an actual comic book. So that's a pretty cool addition to this Sega Genesis Mini. And then Altered Beast. Now I remember playing this game growing up this pretty sweet beat 'em up style game on the Sega Genesis, so that is a classic and a must-have. And then the last one that was announced is actually Gunstar Heroes. Now that is such a great game, and once again it's one of those more expensive Sega Genesis games, so that is definitely a great option to have on this new Sega Genesis Mini console. And then moving on to the Mega Drive Mini, those games are a bit different than the American releases, and that makes sense since there are some Japanese exclusives that we actually never got for the American console. So that list includes Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Puyo Puyo 2, Shining Force, Castlevania Bloodlines, Powerball, Gunstar Heroes, Comic Zone, Rent-A-Hero, Space Harrier 2, and Madu Monogatari Ichu. So that is definitely a different lineup. Some of the games are the same, but a lot of them are actually different. So I'm definitely looking forward to the Sega Genesis Mini Classic that will be released on September 19th, 2019. So definitely stay tuned as I will update the game list as soon as they go ahead and announce more games for the system. And for the price of $79.99, you can't beat that for 40 great games. Definitely would like to see some other games announced for this, like Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Eternal Champions, and just some other great classics for the Sega Genesis. So I'm really excited to see which other 30 games will be announced for this mini console. So hopefully this Sega Genesis Mini does pretty well, as the PlayStation Classic did not do very well, but the Nintendo Classics did very well. So hopefully the Sega Genesis one will be great quality and will include some great titles on here. And I'm really looking forward to this console, as it's definitely one of my favorites in my collection, and I'm trying to expand my game collection for the Sega Genesis. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out my other videos and stay tuned for more.